Yes. Susie Khanji, who's an alumni, I don't know if she's here tonight, I didn't see her yet. She sent me an email saying, Abdullah, I attended a wonderful lecture about Enneagram, and it was given by a wonderful lecturer. I recommend it for our alumni. And I said, sure, why not? Let me check the lecture out and see. And the topic sounded very interesting. And I contacted Dr. Halla, Ayla, and Halla was kind enough to agree to offer her time to present this lecture for us. Dr. Ayla was born in Baghdad and grew up in Beirut, where she graduated from Rumana High School. She lived in the Arab world for 21 years between Beirut, Baghdad, and Riyadh, before leaving the Middle East to pursue her undergraduate and graduate degrees in the UK, France, and Switzerland, where she studied languages, law, and business studies. Halla has been living in the US since 1991. While in the US, she continued to pursue a higher education, studying and training extensively with a large number of renowned teachers, mainly in the arenas of personal and spiritual development, yoga, metaphysics, spirituality, and transpersonal psychology. She has both developed and taught personal growth seminars at Delphi University in Georgia, as well as the whole life forums and symposiums in Los Angeles, Denver, and San Francisco. In the Middle East, she has taught the Enneagram, the course she is introducing tonight, to the staff of the Emirates Hospital in Dubai, as well as in Beirut, Amman, and Istanbul. She has been sharing her knowledge of the Enneagram with hundreds of people in the Middle East, introducing them to this powerful subject that is popular in Europe and the US, but still relatively unknown here. Halla's goal is to help people reach greater levels of self-awareness, empowerment, well-being, and success, both personally and professionally. Her long-term goals and intentions are to offer teacher trainings in the Middle East. Halla, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. This is quite an honor for me to be here with you all because my mom actually graduated from this college in 1971 and was the head of the alumni in the UK. And so this is a great opportunity. She was very, very proud of me to be here amongst the alumni, such as yourself. So tonight I am going to launch into this very, very powerful system of self-understanding and self-knowledge, which I have been researching for almost 20 years, if not more actually. And as Abdullah said, this is a subject matter that, usually hundreds of people attend seminars in Europe and the Middle East. A lot of business people attend this seminar, as well as just normal people like you and I. And it has been proven time and time again, every time I teach it, that it affects enormous amounts of transformation in the people that study it. And even tonight, if you keep your ears and hearts and minds open, you will definitely learn a thing or two. And if you keep your skepticism alive, but your cynicism at the door, then it would be better for both you and I don't have to fight you to explain some of the concepts of this study. So I want to give you a little bit of a background. I came across this study about, like I said, 20 years ago, and literally it changed my life. If I can say that, it's totally an honest statement. It changed my life because it brought me face to face with my issues. And we all have issues. Everybody of us has issues, right? And we have the positive aspects of ourselves and the not so great aspects of ourselves. And it was like a mirror. I could see myself in this study. A lot of us do our life and we have no idea what we're doing. We just kind of wake up in the morning and off to go to work or take care of the kids. And we have no idea how and why we do things, really. So this study specifies what it is we're doing, why we're doing it, and what we're doing that is bringing out the worst in ourselves, and what we can do to bring out the best in ourselves. And that is really my motivation in teaching this course to you today and sharing it with you, is to attempt to help you understand that there are ways and there are paths that we can actually do. There are things that we can actually do to improve the quality of our life, okay? And so in this day and age when so much is happening in the world in terms of crisis, so much violence, so much crisis, especially in the Middle East, of course everywhere, but especially in the Middle East, it's kind of time for all of us to, instead of turn around and blame situation here and there, blame people, blame parties, blame countries, blame government, blame. We do a lot of blaming, don't we? To start to look inwards into our own lives and where it is that we are faltering. You know, what are we doing that's not so cool and not so effective, really? And so this is an invitation to look inwards and take responsibility for our own actions and for bringing out the best of ourselves in this time. Because this is a time, if you haven't noticed, I'm sure all of you have noticed, that this is a time of major, monumental, extraordinary change in the life of everyone, right? It's revolutionary. It's evolutionary, in fact. And so this is kind of an invitation in this time of evolution and revolution and awakening, right? We're all awakening to awaken ourselves and awakening our communities, our families. Because as we do that, we awaken our nation, we awaken our area. And this area certainly needs that a bright light that we can emit once we really see the truth of who we are. And this is a course that teaches us about who we really are behind the facade of the conditioning of childhood, the conditioning of schooling and family, and all the things in our lives in the past that have kept us down, kept us, in a little way, if I want to call it, depressed. Depressed meaning subjected to an enormous amount of pressure that is really unnecessary. And we all have that because of very, very specific childhood conditioning that we all grow up with. No one is exempt, okay? So in any case, without further ado, I want to launch into the subject and explain to you as I go what we're doing. Okay, so I decided a few years ago, because this is the area of my expertise, or if you want, my knowledge, to share the wisdoms of the world with the Middle East. Okay, because we have a lot of wisdom here. In fact, this course I'm about to share with you, the introduction of, because this is a very, very complex course, but the introduction, you get an idea, a seed tonight, was brought to the modern world by the Sufis. So in fact, the Middle East and the Muslims had a lot to do with the evolution and the bringing of this very, very ancient system of self-transformation. And it's an ancient wisdom system that basically divides humanity into 9 different perspectives, 9 different points of view, 9 different lenses. So when I asked you earlier to look at that list and look at where do you think you fit in, basically these 9 things that we're looking at here, and we're going to look at in a minute on the screens, are human motivations. Whether you are a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. Whether you're educated or completely uneducated, whether you are living in China or living in Beirut, doesn't matter. You're all humanity. And as this is hard one to sort of accept, but all humanity fits into this map of human consciousness or human motivation. Because these 9 things that we're talking about in here, and we'll be talking about each one individually today and see how you fit in there. Each one of these things is a human motivation. It's really what drives us forward or backwards in life. Okay, so this is the Enneagram. Is basically comes from the word enya in Greek, which means 9, and gram means a diagram. So 9-pointed diagram. This, for those that are into mathematics, is a sacred geometric design. So it's not any old design. When you do the course, you'll find how amazing this design is. I'll try to show you today, but really it's a little too elaborate for just a couple hours. So, basically these things that we're going to be discussing are all human motivation, everywhere around the world. It's all about human behavior, why we do the things we do, why we don't do the things we do, what motivates us, what drives our energy, what drives our passion, what drives our power, and what drives our actions. Like I said, we're either driven forward towards something positive, or we're driven backwards to something usually struggle, strife, hardship, falling over and doing the same mistake, same bad relationship after the other, doing the same stuff that we do over and over again without respite. Okay, so as I said, the Enneagram is a very useful and practical, it's so practical, that's why it's so cool, it's so practical guide to discovering more of who you are and how to move forward in your life and how to live a much more successful life. And I'm not talking about success meaning money. I'm not talking about success meaning, oh, I have a good job and they pay me well. I'm talking about successful in your relationships, successful in the way, how happy you are with yourself, in other words. Because really, our greatest need as a human being is to be happy and to have love in our life. And this is a system that can assist us in this exploration. Okay? So, as I say, this is a doorway into a new world. So we are at the precipice of something amazing happening in the world out there. All these revolutions and all of these new elections. Do you realize there are 1/3 of all governments in the world that are up for re-election this year? 1/3 of all governments in the world are up for re-election this year. That means we're ready for change. That we're really, really ready for change. And this is one way that can be a portal, a doorway, an entrance into something better, something that we really all yearn for inside of us, but haven't necessarily had the tools to move forward in the direction of greater happiness, greater success, greater well-being into the new world. Okay? So, as I said before, the Enneagram decides and divides all humanity into 9 motivations, okay? These are also 9 perspectives to the world. They're the 9 points of view in the world. And they're your unique approach to the world. Now, you might say, well, I'm not a number. And I say, oh, of course you're not. And I say, well, you know, I'm more than just these 9 things. And my personality is a lot more complex. And I'll say, of course. Because in fact, these 9 things are not your personality. Okay, just let me be clear as day now. This is not your personality. Our personality as human beings is way more complex. You're way more complex than, seeking love. You got to be a lot more, there's much more to each one of us than just seeking. But what each of these things are this is what gets us up in the morning. This is what motivates us, what drives the engine of our being, okay? So let me make that very clear. Now, is there anyone in the room that knows anything about the Enneagram? Has anyone studied this? Okay, we've got one person here. Anyone else? Okay, most books that you will read, in case you find this fascinating subject, as fascinating as I do, is most people think that this is your personality. Okay, so if you've read books about it, they'll tell you this is your personality. It's not your personality. It is what drives us. Okay, so let's move on to the 9 Enneagram personality drives and talk a little bit about them. Okay, so I have this diagram up here for you so that you can always refer to it because you might get muddled every now and then. Okay, so let's go back. So the 9 personality drives are, I'm going to name them. Okay, we'll talk about each individually, so do not worry. So number 1 is the reformer, okay, the one that wants to do the right thing. The 2 is the seeker of love, also called the helper. The 3 is the achiever, the one that wants to be very accomplished and achieve things in life. The 4 is the romantic individualist, usually very dramatic. The thinker are those people that are usually very studious and sitting in the library studying or researching something and trying to understand the world. The 6 is the one that seeks safety and security. That's their motivation, that's their drive, is they really want to be safe. The 7 number is the one that is seeking fun and adventure, usually the life of the party. 8 is the self-reliant leader, very strong and reliable. The 9s are the peacemakers, the mediators. The peacemakers, the mediators. Now, here. There are 3 centers of intelligence in this diagram. Okay, so if you look at this, where's that little thingy? Anyway. Okay, so let's just look at this second. Okay, so this area here is the feeling center. And these are the types that are the reformer, the seeker of love, and the achiever. Just, you don't have to know this at all. I'm not going to test you at the end. No exams, no drop quizzes. 5, 6, 7 are the thinking center. Okay, so these are the thinker, the safety, security, and the one that wants to have fun. The ones at the top, 8, 9, 1, over here, these are the instinctual centers. And basically, they lead with their gut, their instinct. So I tell you this just because you guys are university graduates and you might like complexity. I don't usually give it to everyone. So let's jump into the fun of trying to recognize the types that might be falling into each of these things. And then I'll talk a little bit about them. Okay, so let's have a look at the most famous reformers that I could find. I'm sure there's loads more. But Mahatma Gandhi would be a very masterful one, or reformer type. Now, a lot of times also in the Enneagram, we refer to these qualities as number 1, the reformer, number 2. So sometimes if I say 2, quickly go to the board to see what it is, because I sometimes slip and just say the number. There's no better or worse number. They're all the same. They all have good parts and bad parts. So anyway, Mahatma Gandhi, Nasrallah, Nelson Mandela, Hanan Ashrawi, Colin Powell, Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, Donald Rumsfeld, Martha Stewart, yay, Martha Stewart and Donald Rumsfeld, what do they have in common? Well, they do. Julie Andrews, Barbara Streisand, Ayatollah Khomeini, John Kerry, and Harrison Ford. Okay, here's Ayatollah Khomeini, here's Hanan Ashrawi, here's Hillary Clinton, and here is my favorite picture, the cake picture. And here is some description of what it is to be the reformer type. Okay, so like I said, each type has good and bad. So I'm going to tell you mainly the good because I don't want to scare you all away. Okay, so these people want to be right. They are extremely look to the rules. They want to follow the rules, and they want to do it right, and they want to do it perfectly. Okay, they're really intent on making the world a better place. That's why they're called reformers. They actually want to reform people. They want to reform system. They want to reform husbands. They might want to reform their children. Very usually pretty, I would say, rigid. It's a rigid type, especially in the early years and when they haven't really explored themselves, don't know, the expanse of who they are. Very idealistic, usually disciplined. These guys are disciplined, and they're driven, and usually they have a mission. Like if you look at Nasrallah, maybe Khomeini and all of that. And by the way, I have just to lay it out straight, I have nothing for and against these people. So they're just types, so rest these. I am not for or against. So back to the reformer, these people have high morality. If you think about the people in your life, just in case that's not you, you will notice they're principled, usually principled. Now, maybe the principles are not necessarily yours. Khomeini was not really my principles, but for him, he had a way of thinking, a way of doing things that was very particular, very rigid and strict, usually very strict on themselves, okay? So the negative part of this personality is other than they want to do right and they have principles and morality and they have a moral compass. For them, the means matters. A lot of people, the means do not matter, right? Well, these people, the means matter. So honesty and integrity and all of that actually matter to them. Okay, so now, what is the negative aspect of these people? They can be extremely judgmental. They will judge you. They will judge themselves and be very, very critical of themselves and other people because they didn't They're not just, they're not doing it right. Because these people want to do it right, okay? Now, the positive aspect is, what do they need to do in order to become more of the reformer type, which is to have a little bit of fun and lighten up and enjoy life, okay? Hence, the picture of Martha Stewart, she finally got it and stopped being sort of the rigid queen of the kitchen and started to enjoy, cake baking and being a little sloppy. And that's why I put that picture, because it was a little sloppy cake, not the perfect cake that she normally would have done. Okay, so, but you can see they're usually tirés à quatre épingles, they're usually dressed nicely. I'm going to stereotype every now and then just to make it easy for you to understand. Usually they're pretty well-dressed and impeccable in the way they behave and dress. Okay, so let's talk about, we talked about the reformer types. Let's talk about the two types. This is the seeker of love. Okay, these people are also called the helpers. This is the Mother Teresa of the Enneagram. Okay, any Mother Teresas in the hall? Anyway, you don't have to tell me right now. But Jesus Christ would fit into this category. Yeah, he was a human being and he was motivated by a drive to be of service. These people really want to be of service. They want to love, they want to be loved. They definitely want to be loved. And so, of course, Mother Teresa, Florence Nightingale, people like a lot of the people in the nursing business would fall under this category. And I have some Princess Diana and Marilyn Monroe also fit in this category, as well as Celine Dion. Evita Peron also, the seeker of love, wanted to be loved. Princess Diana certainly. And you can say, well, I want to be loved too. Well, of course you want to be loved, but you're not driven necessarily. You may be, but you may not be driven necessarily in life to find someone to love you as an absolute must. Because they really want, they want to be loved and they want to love. They're usually kind and warm and generous and giving and all of these good things, and they really are very helpful. They're really helpful. They want to help you. The problem is, and they're very compassionate and altruistic, meaning they like to give a lot, but the problem is that can turn into a negative, and they can become extremely controlling, okay? I have family members that are twos, and won't name them, just in case you might know me, or my mom, or my dad, or whatever. Okay, so they can become extremely controlling. This is the mother that sits and waits for her daughter to come and is like trying to control the comings and goings of the children. This is the boss that is, has to always be telling. So this type, usually very, very nice and sweet, turns very sour and very controlling and manipulative, even possessive in their love. Now, these people also tend to feel like, I only love. That's all I'm doing to you is I'm loving you. I'm trying to control the hell out of you, but I'm going to convince you that I love you. In reality, they have to admit that they have a lot more emotions than just one, which is love. Okay, so as I said, wonderful people, but they have a downside, and that is that the control can be a little oppressive. Now, let's talk about the threes. These are the stars of the Enneagram, meaning they would be up here talking to you, and they like the limelight, of which I don't have any right now. But they like to be center of attention. Usually, a lot of actors are in this, are in here. A lot of people that like the stage. They usually like to perform their feelings. Love to perform their feelings. So I put Queen Rania. I studied Queen Rania quite a bit, and Queen Rania is the achiever type. Madonna, Bill Clinton, Tom Cruise. By the way, I'm sorry that these people may be, maybe some people you know or don't know, and mainly American or European. I did try to put some Arab or Lebanese, but I don't really, no longer familiar with the famous people here, so bear with me, and it's okay. I'm sure you'll know some people here. Anyway, Jimmy Carter, Anthony Robbins, Schwarzenegger, Queen Noor, Tiger Woods, Sylvester Stallone, and Halla. Okay, she's from here, isn't she? Her type is very three. It's an achiever type. She looks good, she's a good speaker, all of that. Madonna, material girl. They love the material things, these people. Queen Rania, here's Halla of CNN. sure you all know that face, and Tiger Woods. Now, these people are very, very success-oriented. Okay, they like to achieve, they like to get the job done. They're usually, if you have a job to do, give it to them. The lady that recommended me, Susie, she's an achiever. All I had to do is teach her the class, and she, basically, thanks to her, we have this class. So that's the kind of person they really are very self-motivated to achieve and strive and do positive things in life. So the little downside of this is that they are very status-seeking. A lot of them are status-seeking. So they love all the labels. They like the BMW and the Mercedes. And Lebanon would be partially a free country. You agree? I'm not going to say fully, because once we do the whole thing, I'll tell you what I think Lebanon is fully. Because countries can't be just one thing, right? Just like, they have to have a combination. When we do all of them, well, see if you guys can figure out which combination is Lebanon. But there's certainly a three, right? They love to show off. They love to be in the limelight. Workaholics, I don't know. Is Lebanon workaholic these days?
No.
Huh? Sure not. Oh, sure not. Uh-oh. Okay, well, that's a downside then. Anyway, the thing is, mazahid, it's a lot about the mazahid. Do I look good? Am I looking good right now? How do I appear? Am I saying this right to you? Is this am I getting... That's the kind of thing that a lot of threes are kind of obsessed with. That's not in the good parts of the threes. So they need to become more authentic and much more in touch with their real emotions rather than the performed emotions. Okay, so they also need, because their drive is this achieving drive that wants to get things done and so much forward thinking, achievement, performance, let's do the job, is that sometimes they tend to be focused on themselves, and what they need to do to improve the quality of their life is they need to become loyal and create safety for someone other than themselves, okay? Because each one of these types has to add something to itself in order to become more whole. Can I take any questions from any of you right now, or are we just on a roll? Okay, lady in the back, please. Speak up a little.
You said this is not a character, but I'm sure that, in your work, lifelong work, you have two things. You're something that your job expects you to be. Like, for example, if you're working in the police department, your job push you to be inquisitive, to look how things are doing, to search for answer about a given subject, to follow up your whoever you are working with. But maybe you are in deep or at home or once you're with your friends, something totally different. How can one person know exactly which one of these he is?
Sometimes for some people it's hard. This is one of the hard ones also, although if you're a three, I don't know how you're not going to know yourself, because you really, you do a lot. First, you do a lot. So it's hard not to know. There's some of them that are hidden. But a lot of the times when you, for example, let's take your example of working at a police station. If you're actually working at a police station, what are you doing at the moment? Are you just, shuffling papers? Or what is it that actually turns you on or is much more in alignment with your personality and what drives that personality? For example, if you're a three type, hopefully they're putting you in an action and inspiration and leadership position, because you guys are, that three type is a rock. It's someone that is very dependable and will get the job done. See what I mean? And so even if they put him maybe in a minor position, that person, he or she, are going to be the type that gets it done. You can rely on them getting it done. You see what I mean? So yeah, they are going to exhibit, no matter what you do, you're going to exhibit your type. Even if you're badly placed by your employer, which happens a lot. And that's why you have miserable employers. Miserable employers. Now, you've heard this thing that's around a lot in Europe. I'm sure it's here, is what's it called, this fatigue thing, where you're in a job and it's like, what's it called?
Burnout.
Burnout, there you go, burnout, yeah, common name. So they burn out. Now, why do you burn out if you're doing something that is in alignment with who you are? is when you're put in a position to do something that's actually contradicting what you're about and what really is interesting and motivating. You know what I mean? That's where you have the burnout, is people placed in wrong jobs. So this is why this is why universities such as Harvard and Stanford and the biggest companies in the world use this, is because so that they can place this lady here. She is a peacemaker. I'm not going to put her in a charged position. I'm going to put her in a position that actually brings out the best in her, bringing the highest aspects of herself. You know what I mean? So that's how it can be useful. But most people don't know these things, so it's going to be hit or miss. Answer your question? Did I?
Yes, yes.
In this context, the work is a mean or an end? The work itself.
Depends who you are. I think this is definitely both. This is definitely a work in progress. This is a process, because once you, to be really honest with you, this course is so complex. I don't know, I'm crazy to do it in 2 hours, because it involves a lot of understanding. And I'm trying to make it so succinct for you to explain it. But really, for a type to really become the best aspect of itself, that's something that it'll take you years to become, because you're going against the flow of humanity, which are all going downhill in a way. So yeah, it's a work in progress, it's a means to an end, it's an end, it's all of it. It's all of it. Because, it's how you function, why you function, where you're headed, why you're headed, it's all of that. That's your question? Yeah? Okay, keep asking.
If someone doesn't need to work, should he work?
That's an interesting question, but I don't think. Yeah, I think that's not a real Enneagram question. But I would just say, as an aside,
As an achiever,
they need to do something. Otherwise, they're going to go crazy. If you have a daughter at home or a mother and she's not achieving, she's an achiever, guess what? She eats herself from inside. They become very self-abandoning. It's very easy. They abandon themselves and they don't look like achievers anymore. That's the class that you're not going to do. That's when I get into what happens to the type that is very dynamic. All of a sudden, they become very wishy-washy.
For an achiever, the work is an end.
It's also, it's an end, but it's also what they love to do. My friends that are achievers, they love to work. They love to work.
Even if they are not paid.
It's okay. These are actually useful. Yeah, just keep them to a minimum. Okay, so famous fours. Let's talk about the 4 types. Next round. Okay, so the 4 types are those that are like Mr. Fellow friend that lost the creative world, Michael Jackson. These people want to be special and they want to create a special thing with their feelings. They're very feeling-oriented. Beethoven, Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, Michelangelo, Van Gogh, Francis Bacon, the artist, Leonard Cohen. Drama, very emotional. Julio Iglesias, Edith Piaf, Frida Kahlo, Isadora Duncan, Anais Nin, Winona Ryder, Virginia Woolf, Angelina Jolie, Prince Monet, Anis Nin again, Fayrouz, Lebanese one, Fayrouz, and Muammar Gaddafi. You're going to hate me for saying Muammar Gaddafi's here. Someone had a bone to pick about Burima. I said, hey, he's human. And he wanted to be special. He kept on dressing in all of these outfits. They love to do that. Okay, so let's look at Fayrouz. I think she's a 4 because there's a lot of drama in this personality. It's intense, emotional intensity, okay? So Pierce Prince, also very emotive. Lady Gaga would be sort of the archetypal, stereotypical. I don't know if you know Lady Gaga. Do you know Lady Gaga? I'm sure you do. Yeah, you should. She has 100, how many? Someone told me she has 150 million tweet followers. That's a lot. Okay, so here a description of the 4s, and see if you or someone you know fits into this category or drive. Okay, these people want to be special, like I said, and they want to do something special in this world. They want to express themselves with the intensity of their feelings. They tend to be very dramatic, very creative, very imaginative type, okay? And they live in a world of fantasy. They love fantasizing about the world, the special thing that they're going to create, okay? They can be very much they yearn to do, okay? The threes do, these people yearn. It's like, one day I will become something, one day I'll do something, one day I'll be someone, okay? And a lot of the dead artists are in this category that only were recognized after they died because, that's what happened to them. Anyway, so these people in the negative become very, very entitled. You know what entitled means? They want special treatment. That's what it means. So they can also get lost in a maze and drama of emotions. Extremely melodramatic. Oh, it happened to me. And instead of all of this drama, and we need them to be imaginative, because we need all of these, by the way, every single one of them. But what happens is they tend to scatter their focus. So if you're one of these, you're going to know that you need to really pull your reins in order to do something and focus and get moving on something. And so they need to do that in order to create something with all this emotional intensity that they feel inside. Okay? Still with me? Let's go to number 5. I'm sure there are some 5s in the house. I always come to these classes because they're interested in learning. Okay? I'm sure this university has lots of 5s in it. The 5 people are the thinker types. Edward Said, one of my favorite authors and human beings. Khalil Gibran. Here, I got another guy from Lebanon. Bill Gates, Einstein. Listen to the geniuses. Freud, Carl Jung, Bob Fisher, Howard Hughes. Okay, Osama bin Laden is not a genius, but he was a thinker. Leonardo da Vinci, Alfred Hitchcock, Nietzsche, Najib Mahfouz, Camus, Stephen Hawking, Buddha, Darwin, Mark Zuckerberg, Noam Chomsky, Agatha Christie, Jack Kennedy, Marie Curie. See a common vein? Do you see a common link between all these people? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, this one gave me a little bit of a hard time because Khalil Gibran could be 4 or a 5. He could be like the tragic romantic type drama, or he could be a thinker because he could be either. And you could be either, and I'll explain a little bit later on about that. Okay, so did you guys see the movie Social Network? Who did not see the movie? A lot of you didn't see the movie. Go see the movie. It's a good movie. Well, only because Facebook is changing the face of our planet, right? So it's good to see how it started. How did this whole idea started? This guy completely withdrawn. He's not a type that likes to interact with people, right? And he created the most interactive, most social network without having to meet anyone. So people are meeting each other on Facebook and never going out to actually meet each other in person because that fits that type. The thinkers are very withdrawn types. Okay, they like to study. And here's Bill Gates. And these people are the researchers of our planet. A lot of teachers will fit into this category. And they love to figure out how the world works, how our mind works, how we work as human beings. And they love to research and spend a lot of time observing, studying, researching, listening. They're very curious, usually academic, but they don't have to be. I had one guy come to the last class I did in Beirut, and he didn't know if he was a 5. And I said, well, what did you do today? He said, I woke up and I listened to the news. I said, yeah, what did you, what news did you listen to? And he said, well, I listened to 5 of them. I said, 5 of them? Wow, He said, yeah, I need to listen to all of the different perspectives. That's a very so I told him, listen, you're a total thinker. These want to get the full, they want to get it all. They don't want to skimp on anything. If they're interested in something, they want to understand it from all angles. Okay, so these people, like I said, are the educators because they've studied so much about something that they want to eventually share it. Although, to be really truthful about this type, they'd rather not share it. Because they're not really interested in people. They're only interested in figuring people out and things out, usually. And then, but they have to move away from that introversion to share their knowledge with the world, as a lot of these geniuses eventually did, and humanity is different as a result. So, but as a natural way, they tend to be pretty reclusive and withdrawn and rather unsociable. You're not going to find them at too many LAU parties or LAU alumni parties. They might be at a lecture or two, but they're not too much of party people. Okay, so what happens with them in the negative is they can become overly obsessed with what they're interested in, where they spend hours and hours and hours retreated from the world and studying and looking at every single possible way to understand the subject that is of interest to them. Okay, so what they have to do is they have to step out of the cave or their computer or their book and take the knowledge that they have accumulated, that they never feel is enough, and share it with the rest of us. Teach it. Bill Gates here, I want to go back. Here, this is not Bill Gates when he was young. Because if he was young, he wouldn't be going out and teaching. Look how, he looks pretty open, right? He looks pretty like, hey, you know. Because that's what he did. He evolved himself into this desire to share and actually impact the world with his knowledge and information. Okay, so the fives that we said that who they are. Okay, are you still with me? Sixes. The sixes are people like Woody Allen. These are people like Hitler. You say, Woody Allen, Hitler? Or Meg Ryan? Oh my gosh. Julia Roberts, Hitler? Yes, I'll show you in a minute. Ellen DeGeneres, Nixon, Dustin Hoffman, Diane Keaton, Annie Lamott. I don't know anyone in the Arab world well enough to say they're sixes. I'm sure there are sixes that are famous here. And you know what's so interesting is these people do not look alike in any way, but they need for safety and security. Interesting enough, these people are motivated, driven by the need to feel safe and be safe and secure, okay? They need to be safe for themselves. Usually they run a lot of fear and anxiety. They're pretty anxious people, like Woody Allen. No, okay, so he's a kind of, again, stereotype. But Woody Allen, he's always stammering, you know, he's like, you know, doubts himself, goes backwards. If you've seen any of his movies, I don't know him personally, but you would agree with that. Okay, these people can be very trustworthy people. You know, you want a six in your life because they're very loyal. Thing about them is they're always looking out to see what could go wrong out there in my world that could what's the word, that could get in the way of my safety, okay, and the safety of my family or the safety of my company. Okay, so that's the thing about that, is they always look at, so they have a plan A and a plan B and plan C usually for in case something goes wrong. Okay, like I said, these are extremely loyal. You want them in a company and to look out and see what could go wrong and have contingency plans. Okay, like I said, normally hesitant and anxious. These also can be very, very suspicious of authority, distrusting of authority, and wanting to find someone outside of themselves to kind of feel like it will take care of them, will make them feel safe. Okay, so as a result of this anxiety, this type is going to want to be very sort of engaged in life. They start to overdo in order to assuage the anxiety. Okay, and so instead they need to find this peace and safety that they look outside of themselves, inside themselves. This is... I'm going to tell you, this is a funny thing, but Hitler and Israel fall into the same category, and they are the sixes. Israel and Hitler have this thing where they attack whatever scares them. Okay, the foundation of all of what we do at the bottom that is negative is fear. And these people are very afraid. They're so afraid, the Hitler and Israel type, is that they're going to attack you before you even have a chance to even move. That's that type. Funnily enough, that these two of them are the same Enneagram type. Just a little aside. Okay, so famous sevens. Now, don't all rush and try to be sevens just because they are the fun and adventure types, and a lot of people want to rush and say, oh, I'm the fun and adventure types. Well, they have issues too. And I'm sorry, I'm ignoring this side of the room. Hi, that side of the room. Just kind of. Anyway, so famous 7. Sabah is a 7. Okay, Sabah has 7. Okay, can you get that type? Elizabeth Taylor, Robin Williams, the comedian, Richard Branson, Jim Carrey, George Clooney, Casanova, Banderas, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Brad Pitt. Am I losing you? Roberto Benigni, okay, do you guys know him? Hugh Grant, Federico Fellini, Billy Crystal, Goldie Hawn, Whoopi Goldberg, Dudley Moore, Eddie Murphy. Okay, so this guy, that picture kind of epitomizes that type in the stereotypical way in many ways, because they're usually uppity people. They're the fun in the party. If you have a party, you invite 7, they're usually going to be there for like an hour, if you're lucky, and then they're going to go to another 3 parties that evening, because they have like to have a lot of options, and usually get invited to a lot of big parties, because they're actually the life of the party a lot of times. I'm sure you're going to know 1 or 2 of these. Most of my friends are in this category, because they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to be around. But the problem is, Sabah, I think, is the 7. Would you agree? Richard Branson is probably one of my favorite businessmen. Robin Williams, ha ha ha. Brad Pitt, very cute. Okay, so vivacious. These people are very, like I say, the life of the party. They're fun seekers. They're also called hedonists, which means they love pleasure. Okay, they love to enjoy themselves. They love to eat a lot and drink a lot and party a lot, and all of this is great. And they're outgoing, very gregarious type, like I said. Usually charming, very charming. The life of the party, like a friend of mine says, I'm not going to other party, I am the party. Yes, no arrogance there, but he feels like he's the party, because it's true. When he arrives, the party starts to happen, because they're that kind, they have a lot of energy, exuberance, they're joyful, usually. But the thing about it is that they're doing that to avoid pain. That's the issue. They're afraid to deal with their inner world, afraid of dealing with pain. Okay, and they can become so much, they want to have so much fun, right, that they tend to become very scattered. They're not, these are the people that are called jack of all trades, master of none. You've heard that expression. Well, this category would be, they would be in that category. Okay, they usually are very addicted either to food or drugs or drinking or women or whatever you want. There is an addiction in the personality to something, something that brings them pleasure. Okay, they usually like to have, like I said, very many options. Now, they can also become very rigid, these 7s, very, very rigid and try to do things perfectly. That's in their disintegration. Now, this type, the super spontaneous type, has got to think more. They need to be less spontaneous and more thoughtful, more really to study things before they jump into them. Okay? So I'm sure you have 7s in your life. They're very, very clear. These ones are one of the easiest to identify. 2 more, you guys. Hang in there. 8s I call famous and infamous, because some of the most infamous world leaders belong in this category. Fidel Castro is here. Stalin is here. Saddam Hussein is here. Who else is here? Ataturk is here. Napoleon is here. Dr. Phil is here. Let's see who else is bad. Mike Tyson, I don't like him. Idi Amin is here. He's the worst. And of course, the best of them, Martin Luther King, he also belongs to the type, because within each type there is different levels. Some people are very unhealthy, some people are average, and some people are very masterful and very, very healthy. And Martin Luther King would be amongst the healthy, obviously. And Saddam would be amongst the very psychotic, sick, very unhealthy parts. Sorry if you like him, but I don't. Okay, Steve Jobs. Believe it or not, most people, you think he's a thinker, right? He's not a thinker. He was an A-type, self-reliant leader. Bossy as hell. This guy was so bossy. I talked to employees in his company. At Mac, I go to a Mac store often because it's by my house in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I have a chat with the employees about him, so I could figure out where I could place him here. And they said he was so intense, he was so driven, he was so controlling, he wanted everything his way or the highway. Luckily, he knew what he wanted. That's the lucky part. But let's say he didn't, but he did. And of course, he changed the world. These people are very, very powerful. But he was pretty ruthless in many ways. Simon Cowell, if you've ever watched American Idol, and you watched that show, you know how ruthless he can be. Zaha Hadid, the very famous world architect from Iraq. Does anyone know her here? She's pretty amazing, pretty strong lady. And Oprah Winfrey, she belongs in the more healthy categories. Okay, so again, these people are what? These people are strong, they're bold, they're very fiercely independent. They love to control a situation, they like to be bosses, they can be very assertive and aggressive, and they like to challenge. If you have them in your life, they're going to challenge you at every turn. They're actually going to look like 8s because they're pretty bold, very strong. They have a presence to them. My son is an 8, and maybe and I can't say anything that, it's like nothing will fly over me. He has to challenge me at every single turn. Drives me nuts. Very difficult child. Huh? It's very tired. He tires me out, but I learn a lot from him too. Okay, so these people very powerful, very capable of doing great good, like Martin Luther King, but they're capable of doing real bad things too. Yeah, because their agenda is I want to control, I want to be the boss, I want to lead, I want to do all of that stuff. Hitler was motivated by the fear. He wanted to be safe. That was his motivation. Saddam was a different motivation. These people want to be in charge and in control. Saddam had a different thing, like Napoleon would be more in this type, and Hitler was really motivated. When you study the type more in depth, you will know that Hitler was different in his motivation. Yeah, he was. They're called counterphobic 6s. So they go attack what scares them. So, and you know what? Your question is very valid because they actually will look alike. Totally look alike. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So these people can be very tyrannical. Okay, you'll do it my way. They set the rules of the game and you're supposed to follow it. Okay? Now, they can become also very reclusive and, suspicious, totally paranoid that the world is out to get them. And that's how they become like 6s in many ways. And this powerful force needs to be a little softer, a little bit more willing to show its vulnerability, its weakness. They hate to show weakness. And be able to give and receive love, to be able to be of service to humanity, just like Martin Luther did. Okay, Martin Luther King as opposed to Saddam Hussein. Okay, so that's the type. These people are definitely very reliable and want to be reliant and strong and the tough cookie of the types.
Only this time when they are not achieving their drive, their life, don't they be more aggressive?
These people respond to any threat of danger by being very aggressive. Yeah, they'll attack you before you have a chance to open your mouth. You haven't said anything yet because they feel threatened. Remember, we're not doing these things because we're bad people. This is the fallacy. But we're doing these things because we have had childhood conditioning that has got us to behave in certain ways. That this type, the way it felt safe was, I'll attack you before you attack me.
These drives, we don't get born with these drives.
We are born with these drives, but what happens is our childhood gives us sets of circumstances, and then we get to respond to them. And these are strategies. We have strategies to survive. And this strategy survived by being really strong and tough. And I'm never going to show you how hurt I am. See, each one of them did this. The perfectionist had an issue with their father. And it's very complex, like I said. Had issues with their father. They always felt like they had to always be perfect. Otherwise, they never would be loved. the two also had issues with the father, ambivalent relationship with father. So they, in order to be loved, they had to always be loving. Let me be nice to you so that one day you're going to love me. That's how these things start in childhood. It's not because, Saddam Hussein was beat the hell out when he was a child. He was beaten a lot, as you probably know. Okay, so no, I don't believe in, maybe you agree or disagree, I don't believe that people are bad. We have bad seeds, it's true, but if you look into their childhood, messed up, beaten, really messed up childhoods. And so, of course, the end result is not going to be that good. So, let's talk about the famous nines, and then we'll take some questions. Okay, Barack Obama, hey! Anyone with Barack Obama? My leader won yesterday. Yay! Thank God it wasn't the other guy. I couldn't sleep all last night. Visualizing him winning. We have to have him win because, man, the other thing is capitalist, as you maybe, I believe in conscious capitalism, and certainly the other guy was not that conscious. So Barack Obama, Walt Disney, Audrey Hepburn, Ronald Reagan, Gerald Ford, the Dalai Lama, famous nine. Okay, you're seeing a thread here, maybe not. Julia Child, Grace Kelly, Queen Elizabeth, King Abdullah of Jordan, and I'm not going to say Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston's in there. King Abdullah, Mother Teresa was more a seeker of love. She wanted to love. It was more service. Yeah, but you could easily mistake these two, so good point. King Abdullah wants to make peace, right? Whether he's done it or not, I'm not going to argue that. The Dalai Lama, this guy is probably the healthiest of the peacemakers, most masterful. You can, if ever you've read anything about him, all he wants to do is bring peace and harmony into the world. These people are usually very easygoing. These are sweet people, nice people. They don't like conflict. They don't like arguments. Don't argue in front of a peacemaker. You really agitate them. Very adaptable, friendly. These people are the mediators. Usually, a lot of United Nations, like Kofi Annan, and a lot of the mediators in politics, they belong into this category. They really, really want to see all points of view, and they agree with this person's point of view, and that person's point of view, and that person's, and over there, that point, yeah, I agree with you too. In order to hear all sides so that they can bring people together. Their mission, their drive, their motivation is unity, harmony, balance, oneness. Do we ever need them in this country? Do we ever need them in the world? Yes, we do. If you're a peacemaker, yay, we need you. So these people, however, as I said, they all have a little negative thing, is they can be very self-abandoning, which means what? Because they're so intent on avoiding conflict. They don't like that. So what they're going to do is, if I want to do something, or if I have an interest in something, I'm going to abandon my own needs in order to accommodate this other person. Okay? So they can be very self-neglectful in that way. And they tend to be a little, in the negative, a little lazy, to say it nicely. Okay? And they need to get up and achieve and be more dynamic and active. Because like I said, the world needs more peacemakers. Okay, so that's the end of the 9 drives. All humanity has all of these drives. We want all of them. But one of them will start your engine every day. Will get you up in the morning. Will move you. Okay? Now, just as a sort of question, it's a question... and I have to answer, but has anyone kind of found themselves just a little in any of these? Yes? 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 Good? No? Yes? Good? Good?
Can you go the other way around? Look at characteristics and then try to put yourself in, or is it wrong?
No, it's a great approach. Of course. Any way you can do it is fine.
Sometimes in between, you can be multiple things, you can be changing.
Yeah. Good question, right? Yeah. You do change, but you will never change your drive. Ever. Forget it. Not going to happen. And I'm not being, bossy or anything. I'm just telling you, you're never going to change it. You're born with a drive. You will never change your drive. But, you see, this is a movement. This is what the class is about, is actually we don't stay in our drive. For example, remember I told you about the achiever that is really always achieving and doing, working and all of that? In order for them to really become more whole, which is the idea, that's why we have the circle. This is unity, oneness, become wholeness, right? The 3 has to go to 6. Look at the line, green line here, which I'll talk about in a minute. To become more whole, this 3, which is achiever, needs to create safety and security for someone other than themselves, because they're so, I'm going to do all of this stuff for me, right? So they're going to need to be more loyal to someone else. Do you see how that there's a movement in here? There's actually a movement up and down, but we're not going to go into that today. Okay, so our personality drive, one second, is going to move us forward to really becoming a whole and integrated is the word, integrated person, or it's going to move us backwards towards struggle and strife and hardship. Okay, so here what happened here? Okay, well, I don't know what happened, but let's move on. The Enneagram, like I said, is really a path to personal freedom. That is one of its most biggest gifts. Okay, why is it a path to most personal freedom? Because a lot of us are stuck in our type, and we do the negative aspect of the type rather than do the positive aspect of our type. Okay, so in order for us to pursue our dreams and our visions, we need to bring out the best in ourselves. Okay, which is what I'm going to talk about next. Okay, so like I said, each type has a direction of integration and a direction of disintegration. How the type falls apart, okay, and that's when problems start to happen in your life. And a direction of integration and elevation, and that's how you bring out the best in yourself. In other words, this is your path to success. Okay, so for example, and I'm not going to go into too much details because it's too much information. But, like I said, the 3 must go to 6. This is the path of integration and wholeness and success. If it can move out, it being the center of the universe, it doing everything just to become more of itself, to doing to help someone else. Just like Susie, wish you were here. Susie did that. She's an amazing achiever. I'm sure she won't mind me saying that. Amazing achiever. But where did she excel? She introduced me. She was loyal. See the loyalty in action? And created a sense of, there's someone I could share this person or the knowledge of this person with someone else, not just for myself. Okay, because she's works all the time. But that action, just as a little sort of example, and this is a small example, but it shows you that sense of loyalty, that sense of wanting to share. Okay, so that's how each of the types has a direction, and there's an arrow here, and you'll see these there, they're particular, the green arrows. And what happens is, each type will move in the direction of the arrow. So the romantic has to become, the romantic that is very undisciplined, imaginative, creative, needs to become focused and disciplined, and do the right thing, and have, get up in the morning, act, so that it actually can do the things that it needs to do. So that's another example. The peacemaker that really wants to only do peace, all they want to do is create peace in their lives, right? But that's not enough. You cannot get to the next step unless you move and achieve. This is a very good example of that is Obama. Okay, Obama in many ways was a peacemaker. He wanted to create peace in the world. But what he did is every time he tried to play it safe, he fell flat. Every time he started to become dynamic and energized and had set goals and after what he wanted, that energy moved the energy of the peacemaker to doing something that would eventually create peace. So you see a little bit how that each type has a way that it integrates and elevates. Okay, so just as a summary, I just want to say, do you have any questions? Before we can, we're almost at the wrap-up time, but I'll take some questions now. Oh my God, so many questions. If you're going to talk, either use the microphone or speak up. And let's see, anyone. So the guy in black shirt. Say your name.
My name is Ali. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
According to my perception, I don't see how we really separate motivation from personality. I think they're directly dependent on that, on each
You
other.
speak a little louder because I'm not
I
hearing.
think they're directly dependent on each other, so like distinguish between them clearly.
That's a good point, okay?
And the second thing I want to say is regarding the human psyche. So basically, people nowadays are saying that the human psyche is spread upon a spectrum between genetic and environmental factors. So you can't really say it's black or white; it's gray.
Yeah.
And
You mean
that-
social factors have nothing to do with
Yeah.
your family?
the social factors, genetic factors, they bring you up, they mold you to become who you are. So basically, I see that happening in that and the type of personality. You're spread on all nine. So does the Enneagram follow that line of thought
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
And the second question is, if we find out the reasons that brand us to become the type of personality, can we single them out and have a choice to change our type of personality? And the third question is, as a person
That's a lot
develops...
of questions. You're losing me. Okay, let's just answer this answer. You said that this is your drive. This is your drive. The personality is made up of a lot more things. It's like your identity, what you do. The personality is much more complex. This is really what motivates you to do certain things. So the peacemaker is motivated by a desire to create peace. An achiever is motivated by a desire to achieve, to produce, to make things happen. So that's not your personality. Personality is way too complex. But really what we're looking at is what is it that drives humanity, okay? So that's in that sense. Of course, in terms of the psyche, of course we're affected by our childhoods. Absolutely, we're all affected by our childhood. That's why a lot of these things are, a lot of these strategies for survival, like I said earlier, are going to affect each of how these end up. That's why they become perfectionists. That's why they become, overachieve. That's why they start to perform in order to please. So each one has a dynamic within it that is compensating, in other words, for a childhood issue. Does that help? Yeah. I'm not going to answer 100% because it'll take me an hour. Okay, so next, you can ask me later, like if you want more detail, because there's a lot of hands up. The lady in red.
I would like to know which type you are.
I usually talk about my type unless you come to my class.
Thank you.
I can't really tell you my type because it's something that. Why don't you try to find you instead of me? Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I'll tell you later. I mean, you and I. Well, it's not really a secret, but I like to keep it a secret so I can talk about my type, both the negative. I find it really hard to talk about negatively about myself and then really, really positively about myself. But usually what I have people do in the class is that see if they really understood it, and they will usually tell me. But yeah, the lady in the striped red.
Is there any formal assessment?
Oh yeah. Thanks for asking that question. Yeah, there is a formal assessment. You can go online and Google Enneagram personality typing, and you will find many Enneagram typing tests. Are they what? Yeah, they're pretty good. The ones that I would do is the Enneagram Institute. I'll give you all that list. We're not really finished with the class, but just so that anything changes, I'm asking questions. The lady with the glasses. And the long black hair. You, over there. Yes. Did you have your hand out? Okay, what's your question?
I want to talk about the ontological basis.
The what basis?
Ontological basis.
psychological?
What's the scientific proof of the animal?
The fruits?
How do you know it's valid? How can you assess it? There are many other theories. There's the MBTI test.
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
There's lots of them. This is the best. Yeah. You know what? Proof? I can't prove God to you either. Maybe it is. You know what I mean? Proof is in the pudding. Proof is in when you study this enough and you really read a book about it. It's going to be pretty convincing as to the different types of personality. And besides, I mean, it's clear that there are these people. I mean, we're in here. We're in here. The guy with the microphone in your hand.
Actually, sometimes there's something called the inner voice that when you are trying to make a decision, they always recommend to follow your inner voice. Has this to do with the Enneagram, or is it the drive, the inner voice that, like when you are in a conflict resolution?
Not really. No. I don't think so. But
What was your answer?
he said, sorry, intuition or inner voice, is that something to do with it? And I said, not really. The more intuitive types? No, anyone can be intuitive. Intuitive doesn't belong to a type. Intuitive is, anyone can be intuitive. It's a muscle. It's a muscle. You have to, the more you're intuitive, the more you can become intuitive. But we all have it. Everybody is entitled to intuition.
I want to ask about the way we think to choose what we are. You said it's only one point. It should be one thing. When I take this, I have chosen before you spoke, so I could really locate myself without being impressed by anything.
Right.
But we always have the complex inside us that we want to choose what we like to be, not what we are. So we really should go out of this complex. I need to know the three main questions that we could answer in a sincere manner. So yes, that we could ask ourselves the three main questions. So we need, in a way, that to be able to locate ourselves in a good way.
That's a nice question. It's there are not three. Is that when you now that you know these types, what I would suggest is you start to observe yourself. Observe yourself. Observe what it is that motivates you. Because there is such thing as we have two types. In fact, it's called the wing. So you can be an achiever type, and the way you do your achievement is by being very emotionally engaged in the world, or you can be doing the achievement by seeking love. Okay, so you can have a combination, 3-4 or 3-2. Okay, so that's the thing about it that is going to be, you said maybe more than one? Yeah. Usually, this is called the wing. It can be the one to the left or to the right. Okay, so have a look at if you think you found yourself, and then really it's not a question, it's not one question. You really have to study it a little bit more and start to observe what it is that is the most important.
Or maybe the right one to locate ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. That's where that guy's question. Trust your intuition. Start to observe. Start to watch. Because really, at the end of the day, why we're doing this is not because of the type. Like that lady was asking, it's not really just to, I'm discovering I'm a reformer. What you're trying to do is, we're trying to find out who is driving the engine of your being, so you're no longer driven by this desire, and so that you can move towards the best self that you can, because like I said, each one has a high point and a low point. You're moving towards the best self that you can. So before everybody leaves me here, let me give you some, tell you, I'll come back to you. Can I come back to you?
I have a question. I just want to say thank you for enlightening me. You're so charismatic, so lively.
Thank you.
And really, and you're very kind. So thank you.
No, thank you. Let me just, I'm almost there, but I really want to tell you a few more things. Okay, so what does this Enneagram offer? Why are we doing all of this? The reason why this subject is so popular and so, in many ways, helpful and practical is because it helps us understand ourselves. Like I said, the first time I did it, I wasn't 100% sure what, but I started to observe myself. I started to watch what it is, how I'm falling apart, how I'm becoming more integrated, how I'm disintegrating, all of that. I got to understand myself, and then I turned around and I started to understand my kids. And then I started to understand my husband. And then I started to understand my workers, my fellow workers. So that understanding of other people is very helpful because you become more compassionate and empathic. And we need more compassion and empathy in our lives, right? So it helped me in communication with other people and in my relationships with other people. And at the end of the day, now that I've been practicing it for so long, I am on my path because this whole system puts you in touch with your soul's path and your destiny and your purpose in life. And that is the coolest thing about it. Is that how many times, you want to know what you're here to do in this life. What am I here to do? What's my purpose in life? Well, this answers that question. This study answers that question. Now, you might not have answered it today, but it will answer it. If you study this enough, you will know what you're here to do and how you're here to do it. It's not a joke. It really will do that. It will help you. So it's a window into your soul and your soul's path, and it's a way to discover your true purpose and your destiny. And doesn't everybody want to know that? Or at least I think everybody does. So the application, self-knowledge and personal development, emotional intelligence, EQ, very important. Enhanced relationships, better communication, leadership. This is taught at Harvard Business School, Stanford Business School. Why? Because it helps leaders help other people identify what it is this person makes you tick and what it is that makes her tick. And how can I bring out the best in you? And how can I bring out the best in her? And what I can do to avoid giving this person here the worst job for this type. You see how it becomes very, very useful in management and in team building. And very important in conflict resolution. Guess who uses this system? The FBI. Okay? Why? Because they want to figure out world leaders. What are they thinking? Why are they doing this? Where are they headed? So believe it or not, the FBI uses this system. Yeah, maybe the CIA too, but so does the FBI. Okay, so the companies like Marriott, like Toyota, one of the biggest car companies in the world, lots of Google, Yahoo, I can't tell you how many Fortune 500 companies use the system to bring out the best selves. So I'm going to end with this last quote, and it says, there comes a time when the risk of remaining tight in the bud is more painful than the risk it takes to blossom. Think about this. What are you compromising in your life today? Are you bringing out the best in you every day? Are you as successful, happy, have love, are doing what your dreams? Can any one of you say that I am really doing it right? Because bravo if you are. We need more people to be dreaming and visioning. We have an enormous lack of vision in our world. Enormous. Look at our leadership. We have the most pathetic bunch of leaders. Have no vision. No vision. No sense of direction. They're not living from the best self. They're living from the worst aspects of their types. Okay? As we saw, Saddam Hussein, look at where he led his country. Okay, America did the worst afterwards, but let's not politicize things, but you see how each type can offer its worst and can offer its best. And I'm introducing you to this complicated subject, like I said, hard to put in 2 hours, really. But so that you would have the curiosity to go out and explore and understand more of what really makes you tick in life and how to bring out the best in you, because we need you. If not now, then when? And if not you, then We need more leaders, we need more dreamers, we need more people that are really living at their highest potential. And why not you? Why not you? Right? I would like us yeah?
I guess that in other methods, we see the aspect of the personality and we can see with the motives, okay? But with childhood, with children under 6 and 7, it's hard to know their personality because they are not yet developed. But we can know what is their motive. So the question is, if we can know the motive of our children, is it easy to shape them towards what we see is their the best option?
Yes.
The best option. Okay.
Once you understand this, you can, because you can offer them things that still make them safe and secure so that they don't have this adaptive. Before everybody leaves, I want to just end with a couple of notices. One is, if you want to read about the Enneagram, which I highly suggest that you do, okay, read The Wisdom of the Enneagram. Of the Enneagram, okay, by Don Riso and Ross Hudson. Don Riso, read any of their books. Ross Hudson. Okay? Helen Palmer is good too. Helen Palmer is a great author, and David Daniels, very good. Who said that? David Daniels. These are partners and work together. A lot of their books, David Daniels. These are the best authorities I can recommend. The other thing is, I'm doing a class here on Sunday, not at LAU, but probably somewhere in Beirut. If you're interested in possibly joining, it's going to be a one-day class where we go into depth, so it's not so confusing. It'll make a lot more sense in the one day. Leave me your name and your email clearly written out on a thing here, and I will be in touch with you in the next day if you're interested. And here are some cards in case you want to look at my website. And basically, thank you for being here and for being patient.
Can you take one more question?
Sure.
So these drivers, they are developed. They were not born with, right?
These drives,
the drivers, they're developed. We were not born with. We're born with. But I think, as I understood from you, that they're developed because of the environment. So we can change it. We can change it. Right?
We can change the matter of our time. Of our time.